My name is Cole, and what I'm about to tell you, I didn't see any of it coming. The bar was called Vendange, French for harvest. I only knew that because Diana told me the first night I walked in, and the way she said it, like she was giving me something she didn't hand out often, made me pay attention before she'd said anything else. Late October. The city had finally gone cold the way it does when it decides to mean it. Inside, Vendange smelled like old wood and something underneath. Wine soaked into decades of grain, the particular warmth of a room that earns its living in pleasure and isn't ashamed of it. A jazz playlist ran low from speakers I couldn't locate. 6 tables, dark leather, candle and glass on each one. Behind the counter a woman who was not looking up. Dark hair pulled back loosely, a few pieces fallen free against the back of her neck. White shirt, collar open 2 buttons. She was writing in a paper ledger, and she finished her sentence before she lifted her eyes.
You're the one Marcus sent.
That's me. Cole.
Younger than I expected.
Does that change anything? She looked at me then. Not a quick pass, a full look. The kind that moves over a person the way you'd read a room before you decide to walk into it. Her eyes were dark, and she didn't hurry them.
Depends on whether you pay attention. Come around.
Her name was Diana Reyes. She came around the counter without rushing, with the ease of a woman who has not needed to hurry anything in a long time and sees no reason to start. I registered the way she moved before I registered what she said.
11 years I've owned this place. Staff has turned over 8 times. What kills it is not laziness, it's inattention. Things put back wrong. Customers who feel unseen. First thing I want to know about you is whether you notice things.
What kind of things?
All kinds. Start with the wine.
She walked me along the north rack. 64 bottles. Every position fixed. Every position with a reason behind it. She explained as she moved and watched me from the side, running a quiet calibration the whole time, measuring what I tracked and what I missed. Halfway down the rack, I reached for a bottle that had been shelved at the wrong angle and corrected it before she said anything. She saw. She didn't comment on it.
Pinot always left column. Customers come in after 2 glasses of white and reach for it in the dark. The hand needs to find it without the eye.
Muscle memory.
Exactly. The room does half the work if the room is set up right.
At some point she reached past me to adjust a bottle I'd shelved at the wrong depth. Her arm crossed the space directly in front of my chest. The sleeve of her shirt caught my forearm on the way back. She didn't apologize. She didn't move faster than she needed to. The last table that night was 2 women finishing a Côtes du Rhône. They laughed near the end at something private between them. Diana watched them leave with an expression that wasn't quite nostalgia, more like recognition, like watching something she understood all the way down. After they left, we worked without talking. Chairs in, glasses to the back, the quiet routine of closing a room. Diana turned glasses right side up on the shelf above the counter, and the motion lifted her chin into the low amber light. I watched it longer than I needed to. The silence between us had a shape, not the silence of nothing to say.
Thursday again, if you want it.
I want it. She looked up and held the look for one full moment.
Then I'll see you Thursday, Cole.
The way she said my name, like a word held just a moment in the mouth before it's let go. I picked up my jacket, said good night, and walked out into the October cold. I didn't look back, but I counted her footsteps crossing the hardwood floor until the door closed behind me, and there was nothing left to count. Thursday came with more weight than I was ready for. I arrived at 10. The room was still half full, a table of 4 in the back corner finishing a second bottle, a couple at the front window deep in a conversation neither of them looked ready to end. Diana was behind the counter entering something in the register. She looked up when I came in, held the look a second longer than she needed to, and went back to what she was doing. We worked the room. I cleared tables. She poured the last glass at the back table, said something quiet to the couple, and they laughed. She had the ease with people that comes from years of reading a room, knowing exactly how much warmth to offer and precisely when to pull it back. By 11:30 the last guests were gone. I locked the front door. She came around the counter with a Burlo and set it between 2 glasses on the bar.
Do you drink what you pour, or do you just move it from place to place?
Depends on who's offering. She opened the bottle, poured without asking, pushed one glass toward me and lifted hers, not drinking, holding it at chin height, looking at me over the rim.
Tell me what you smell.
Dark fruit. Something like leather underneath. Earth after rain.
And?
Something dried. Like a room that's been closed a long time and then opened. She watched me a moment. Then she drank.
You pay attention.
You told me that was what mattered.
I say a lot of things. Not all of them land.
She moved around the counter and sat on the stool beside mine. Close. Her leg crossed, the fabric of her trousers shifting across her thigh. She didn't adjust it. We talked. She asked about the years before this job. I asked about the 11 years, what the bar had cost her, what it had given back. She talked about it the way you talk about something built with your hands. Not proud exactly, more like someone who knows the weight of a thing because they've been carrying it a long time.
Most people try to slow down at my age. I find I don't want to.
What do you want? She turned and looked at me directly, set her glass down on the counter. Her hands settled loose in her lap, and she didn't answer immediately. Not evasion. More like someone measuring exactly how much they mean before they say it.
That is a dangerous question at this hour.
I know. She reached over and took my glass from my hand, set it beside hers on the counter, turned back toward me, and the distance between us had changed without either of us visibly moving. She kissed me, with intention, the specific intention of someone who had decided before they moved. Her mouth warm, tasting like the Barolo, her hand coming up flat against my chest. Not gripping, pressing, feeling what was there. I put my hand to the side of her face. She made a sound low in her throat and came closer, and the hand on my chest began to move, slowly, with full awareness of the direction it was going. When we broke apart, she didn't pull back. Her forehead stayed near mine. Her hand had settled at my ribs, warm through my shirt, and her breathing had changed in a way that changed everything in the air between us.
You should know, I don't do things I don't mean.
Neither do I. She leaned back, just slightly, looked at me in the low bar light. Her hair had come further loose, and she didn't fix it. She reached for her glass instead, drank the last of it slowly, set the empty glass down on the counter with a soft, deliberate click. That sound. Both of us heard exactly what it meant. The Friday after that Thursday, she texted at 7 in the evening. 3 words. Come help close. I was there by 9. The last table left at 10:40. Diana walked them out, came back in, and turned the lock herself. She crossed to the sound system behind the bar and switched off the music, and the silence that replaced it was not empty. It was the kind that announces itself. The main lights were off. Just the amber strip above the counter, and one candle still burning at the nearest table.
Cole.
Yeah.
Come here.
Not loudly. The way you say a thing when you're certain it will be heard. I came around the counter. She was standing with her back to the shelves, facing out. When I got close enough, she reached up and took the collar of my shirt in both hands. Not pulling, holding. Her eyes moved over my face with the particular attention of someone reading something they want to understand completely. Diana.
Don't explain anything. Not tonight.
She pulled me forward by the collar and kissed me, and this was not what it had been the night before. No more exploring. This had direction. Her hands moved from my collar to my shoulders, down the front of my chest, and she pressed her palms flat against my stomach. I felt the heat of them through the fabric and had to concentrate past it. I put both hands on her waist. She moved her body into mine. Full contact, no space remaining between us. Her hips against mine with a slow, deliberate weight that made the intention completely plain.
I've been thinking about this since Thursday.
Which Thursday?
Both of them.
She laughed, low, and the laugh changed into something else when I moved my hands up along her sides, learning the shape of her through the fabric. She reached up and pulled the pin from her hair. It fell loose around her shoulders. She shook it free with one small movement of her head, and the quality of the air in the room shifted. I undid the third button of her shirt. She watched my hands do it. She brought one hand up and covered mine briefly, not stopping, just feeling, and then let it fall away.
You're very deliberate.
Is that a complaint?
No.
The shirt fell open at the collar. The candle at the nearest table had burned low, throwing unsteady amber light. I put my hand to the side of her neck and felt her pulse moving under my palm. She tilted her head slightly into the pressure. The small involuntary lean of someone moving toward warmth without deciding to. She reached for my shirt buttons, worked through them unhurried, pushed the shirt back off my shoulders and let it fall. Her hands moved across my chest with open, unhurried want, and she looked at what her hands were doing with an expression that had nothing apologetic in it.
Tell me you're not going anywhere tonight.
I'm not going anywhere. She pressed both palms flat against my chest and walked me backward 3 steps until the bar counter caught me at the lower back. She came with me, her hips into mine, her hands moving now with the kind of intention that has stopped asking and become something else. The candle went out. The amber strip above the counter threw the room into deep warm shadow. She had both hands on my shoulders, her body completely against mine. She was looking up at me in the near dark and her eyes were not asking.
Quietly, I've been closing early for 2 weeks looking for a reason. I think it was always this.
I brought one hand up into her hair. Her chin lifted. She closed her eyes. There is a specific quality to the moment just before, when both people know exactly what is about to happen and neither one moves away. That moment stretched itself out and filled the room entirely, and in it I could feel her heartbeat going as fast as mine. What happens next? I'll tell you what I remember. Not what I planned. Not what I expected. What I actually remember. She took my hand and led me through the bar, past the last table, through the door at the back that I had assumed was storage. A narrow corridor, a staircase, and then a space above the bar that opened into her apartment. Not large. A kitchen open to a sitting room, a window over the street, low lamps throwing warm amber. The smell of the place was the bar and something separate from it. Something cooler, more personal. Something that was only hers. She turned at the end of the corridor and looked back at me.
You've wondered about this room since your first night.
Since before my first night. She walked to me instead of away, took my face in both hands, and kissed me slowly, with the particular care of someone who has decided this matters and is not going to pretend it doesn't. We moved toward the far room. She reached back and pushed the door open without looking, her eyes on mine. Inside, the lamp on the far table on its lowest setting, a wide bed, the window letting in a pale strip of city light that lay along the ceiling. She undid the last 2 buttons of her shirt and let it go. She stood in the lamplight and didn't hurry the moment or fill the silence with anything. She let me look. There is a specific kind of beauty that belongs to a woman completely at ease in her own body, who has arrived at it through time and knows its value. I stood in the doorway and felt something that was not only desire, though it was fully that, but something wider that had no clean single name. You're extraordinary.
Come here.
We came together without urgency. Her hands moved through my hair, down the back of my neck, across my shoulders. I traced the line of her collarbone with my fingers, then my mouth, and she made a sound and tilted her head back, and the sound filled the quiet room. We moved to the bed, every motion slow, each gesture complete in itself before the next one. Her hands had a quality to them, deliberate, entirely present, the hands of someone who has decided to be nowhere else. She was warm everywhere. The weight of her, the warmth of skin against skin, the way she moved with a confidence and ease that made everything feel like it had been building toward exactly this room, this hour, this particular quality of dark. Not because that is always true, because in that room it was. She said my name once. In the dark, in a voice I had not heard from her before, low and unguarded in a way the daytime voice never was. Like something she hadn't intended to say aloud and then decided not to take back. What I remember most is not any single moment, but the full texture of it. The warmth, the specific sound of her breathing, the way she moved with complete intention, the way she looked at me at one point with her hair across her face and her eyes fully open and said nothing, just looked, like she was memorizing something she planned to return to. Afterward, she was on her side facing me. A pale strip of city light lay across the ceiling. The bar below was silent. The room had settled around what had just happened, and so had we. Neither of us spoke for a long time. She had one hand resting on my chest, and I could feel the slow weight of it, settled, as if it had always been there. As if leaving were a thing neither of us was considering yet.
Quietly, that was not what I expected.
What did you expect?
Something simpler.
I looked at the ceiling, her hand on my chest, the pale line of city light above us. 2 people, a room, and something between them that was going to require attention. 3 days later, she texted mid-afternoon. Not late, not after closing. Are you free tonight? I came to the bar at 7. She was at the corner table with a glass of white and a spread of invoices in front of her. She looked up when the door opened, and something in her expression moved. Not surprise exactly. Something more like recognition. A thing confirmed.
Sit down.
I sat across from her. She pushed the invoices aside.
I haven't done this in a long time. I want you to know that.
Done what?
Invited someone back. Into the apartment. Into this.
She said it plainly. No performance of vulnerability. Just a fact she had decided I should have. Why are you telling me?
Because you deserve to know the weight of it.
I reached across the table and put my hand over hers. She looked at it for a moment. Then she turned her hand over and held mine. She cooked upstairs, something simple, pasta, olive oil, a bottle she chose without consulting anyone. She cooked with the same unhurried attention she gave everything. I sat at the kitchen island and watched, and there was something specific about the ordinariness of it. The ordinary intimacy of being in a person's kitchen while they cook. That made the space between us different than it had been in the bar. More real, somehow. Less controlled.
Tell me something about yourself that isn't a resume entry.
I moved here because I needed to be somewhere no one knew me.
And?
And it worked. For a while.
What changed?
I'm not sure yet. She served the food without comment. They ate and talked slowly. The kind of conversation 2 people have when they're not performing interest, but actually have it. She talked about the bar before she owned it. The partner who was there in the early years. A man named Julian. She bought him out 6 years ago and still ran into him the way a city that is not quite large enough provides its own particular kind of haunting.
He wanted to own it the way young men want things completely, and without looking at the cost.
And you?
I wanted to build something. That's different from wanting to own something. Most people don't know the difference.
After dinner, without the conversation pausing, without any clear moment of transition, she came around the island to where I was sitting and stopped in front of me and put her hands on my face the way she had the first night. Held it. Looked at me for a long moment.
I like you in a way I wasn't prepared for.
I'm not asking you to be prepared. She kissed me. Slowly. With the particular quality that comes when 2 people already know each other's bodies and move without needing to discover anything. Just deepening what's already there. Her hands moved with certainty. Mine did too. The second time had a completely different quality than the first. The first had urgency in it. The specific urgency of something unknown. This was slower. More thorough. Each movement more deliberate because it was chosen. We knew where we were going, and neither of us was in a hurry to arrive. Afterward, she lay with her back against my chest. My arm over her. The city outside the window. The bar below quiet.
I don't know what this is yet.
We don't have to know tonight.
No. But I think I want to know. That's the thing I'm trying to tell you I want to know.
She turned to face me. Her eyes in the near dark were very clear.
I'm 42 years old. I have a business and a life that was complete before you walked in. I'm not telling you that to push you back. I'm telling you so you understand. When I say I want to know what this is, I mean it. I don't say things to fill silence.
I know you don't. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she put her hand flat against my chest, just above my heart, and held it there. Still, the warmth of her palm pressing down through the quiet of the room. That was the thing I held on to after. Not what was said, but that hand, and the weight of it, and what the weight meant. Julian Farrat came back on a Wednesday evening. I was restocking the north rack when the door opened. Diana was at the counter. The man who walked in was somewhere in his mid-50s, well-dressed, the ease of someone who has held money long enough to forget it, and the expression that crossed Diana's face when she saw him was not unreadable. It was the face of someone who had rehearsed this moment and didn't like finding it suddenly real.
Diana.
Julian. You should have called.
I did call. You didn't answer.
He looked around the bar with a particular kind of interest, the way a man looks at a space he once had a claim to. Calculating, not nostalgic. He noticed me. Diana did not introduce me.
The place looks better, honestly.
It's always looked good.
I want to talk about the proposal I sent last month.
There's nothing to talk about.
Diana. 60% of the original capital that built this place came from me.
6 years ago you took that capital back, plus interest. This conversation is 7 years old.
Julian looked at me again. A slow, assessing look. Then back at her.
Is this a bad time?
All times are bad times, Julian. Come back Thursday and bring a lawyer.
He left. Diana stood at the counter for a moment after the door closed, not moving. Then she picked up a cloth and began wiping the already clean surface of the bar. I came around and stood on the other side. She didn't look up. You going to tell me about that?
Business from before.
He wants the bar back.
He wants leverage over something he can't control anymore. The bar is the available object.
She set the cloth down, looked at me.
I built this alone. Not the way people say they built something alone when they had help. I mean genuinely, after Julian, with half the capital, from nothing. This place is mine.
I know it's yours.
Then you understand why I can't have it complicated.
Why what? She looked at me for a long moment. Her expression was not cold. It was careful. The look of someone navigating a space they've studied and still found uncertain.
By this. By whatever this is becoming.
The bar was half full around us. A couple at the window, 2 men at the counter, the soft noise of other people's evenings continuing as if the room hadn't just changed. She picked up the cloth again, and I stood there and understood what was happening. She wasn't ending something. She was afraid, not the kind of afraid that needs comfort, the kind that needs to be named out loud. Diana, look at me. She looked up. I'm not Julian. I'm not interested in your bar. I'm interested in you. If that's a problem, say so directly. Don't manage it. One of the men at the counter glanced over. Diana held my gaze through it, long enough that it became visible to anyone paying attention. Then she set the cloth down and came around the counter, slow, with the particular movement of a woman who has made a decision and is not announcing it. She stopped in front of me, close. Her hands stayed at her sides, but her body was fully present in the small space between us, and the proximity alone had the quality of something said aloud.
Quietly, stay tonight. After close.
Yeah. She went back to work. I went back to the rack. The bar continued around us. But I stood there and didn't know what the night would hold. Whether her asking me to stay was resolution or delay. Whether tonight was a step towards something clear or a last hour before a door she was already deciding to close. I watched her move through the room with that unhurried ease of hers, and I didn't know. And not knowing, for the first time since I'd walked into Vendange, felt like it had real stakes. After close, she sent Perry home early. Then it was just us and the bar in its post-service quiet. She poured 2 glasses of the Barolo, the same label as the first night, set them on the counter, and stood across from me without picking hers up.
Julian filed paperwork this morning. A formal claim on the original investment plus compounded interest. My lawyer says it has no legal ground to stand on. But it will take 6 months and cost more than I want to spend.
What does that mean for the bar?
Nothing permanent. But it's weight I didn't ask for.
She looked at her glass, then at me.
The thing I said the other night about things being complicated. I want to take it back.
What part?
The part where I made you sound like the complication. You're not. I was afraid and I reached for the closest thing available. That wasn't fair.
I moved around the counter. She didn't step back. I stopped close. Close enough that the warmth of her crossed the last inch of air between us. I know what you were doing.
Does it bother you?
It would have, if you hadn't said this. She put both hands against my chest, felt what was there, looked up at me with those dark, unhurried eyes.
I don't know what we're doing exactly, but I want to keep doing it. I want to know where it goes.
So do I. She kissed me, not urgently, with the full, certain quality of someone who has made a decision and is not doubting it. We moved upstairs. City outside the window, bar below silent, lamp on its low setting. She turned at the center of the room and looked at me the way she had the first night. That full, particular look, but different now. Now it had history in it. Weeks of close proximity and the weight of everything said and not said between 2 people learning each other in the dark.
Come here, Cole.
I did. We came together with the quality that moves into a room after fear has left it. Unhurried, certain, fully present. Her hands moved over me with complete knowledge. Mine over her. No discovery now, only deepening. The city came faintly through the glass. The lamp held its warm circle on the ceiling. At some point she pressed her mouth against my shoulder and said something I couldn't quite make out. I asked her to say it again.
I said I'm glad it was you.
What do you mean?
I mean of everyone who could have walked through that door looking for work, I'm glad it was you.
I had my hand in her hair. She was looking up at me in the low light with the particular clarity that comes after something difficult has been cleared from a room. I'm going to be here for a while, Diana.
Good.
We didn't sleep for a long time. When we finally did, she was on her side facing the window, and I had one arm over her waist, and the city outside had gone quiet. The Vendange sign below cast a faint warm glow up the wall. Amber, the color of the bar, the color that had been the backdrop to all of it. In the morning she made coffee, ground from the jar on the counter, and set a cup in front of me without asking how I took it. She already knew. She'd been paying attention the whole time. I'd just been too busy watching her to notice. She stood at the kitchen window with her cup and looked out at the morning street below, and the light came in at an angle that caught the silver threaded through her hair and the particular ease of her, that unhurried, self-possessed ease I had registered the first moment she looked up from that ledger and decided I was worth her attention. She turned and caught me looking. She didn't look away. She raised her cup, small, private, the way you toast something between two people and no one else. I raised mine back. And that, more than anything that had come before it, was the thing I was still carrying when I finally left that room.